This is the Euler attack in our CISO asset tracing platform. And we can see here, they start out by borrowing balances from Uniswap and Balancer. These are our flash loans. And then they use those funds to attack the Euler contracts. So they're putting in money, they're exploiting the protocol, and then taking out a profit. They then repay back their loans, and once they've done all these attacks, they take all of those assets that they've stolen and move them to a secondary address. And that's what we're seeing here, kind of just a high-level overview of how this attack happened. This type of asset tracing is usually good enough for UTXO models like Bitcoin, but when we get into smart contract platforms like Ethereum, this doesn't reveal everything that's going on here. So we need to actually dig into one of these transactions to get a better understanding of what's going on. And that's where our screen platform really shines. And so I've got one of these attack transactions pulled up into screen. And if we scroll down, we can see our transaction graph. So these are all of the internal transactions that are occurring in just this one transaction. And if we scroll down, we can see, the entire trace call of what's going on in this attack, all of the internal transactions, all of the functions that are called. So when I first did this investigation, it took me a couple of hours to fully wrap my head around this transaction and kind of pick up everything that's going on. And that's part of why we created our Agentic AI system, Tracer, to help us kind of pull some of these complicated transactions apart and understand what's going on underneath the hood. So I've put this transaction into Tracer. We can see the transaction right here, and just ask Tracer, this transaction was involved in an exploit, summarize the exploit steps and highlight the relevant functions. And it's done an excellent job of pulling together, a summary of this exploit, talking about how there were flash loan involved, the initial assets, almost $30 million was borrowed in this case. They use those assets to deposit them, borrow them against them, and to manipulate the platform. And then it's identified that self-liquidation mechanism was involved here. And it's even done us highlighted the functions that were used in this exploit. So this donate to reserve function is at the core of what the attacker was exploiting. So this is something that took me a couple of hours to pull together, and Tracer is able to do it in a single prompt.